Here we go. So this is Christy Mattoon from Mind Rewire. Thank you so much for being here. I'll try not to stammer over my words too much. I was just asked a question, and the question was literally, "What is consciousness?" And it actually came at a time when I was writing a article that I'm about to put out about understanding consciousness and what it is. And I was looking up information on this. Oh, by the way, subscribe, please. Like, share this. If it helps you, it'll help somebody else, probably. So I always like to say that and get that in there. But the question is, what is consciousness? And I looked up an article actually in Google News that asked the question, are we any closer to understanding what consciousness is? And what I came up with, I thought was interesting because I sat inside my heart for a minute just asking, what is this and what's going on? Why aren't we more closer? Why aren't we closer to understanding what consciousness is? And I'm going to read to you part of what I have written here. So the question was asked, are we any closer to understanding what consciousness is or how it really works? And I said, as science is paving the way, the frontier and giving us, or paving the way to the frontier and giving us new information, it seems to be just explaining what healers and non-scientific intuitive doctors have understood and done for centuries. The Genetic Literacy Project had a recent article reflecting on this by saying thinkers have spent an immense amount of time and ink trying to unravel mysteries, such as how consciousness works and where it resides, and the short answer is not satisfying. Scientists and philosophers still can't agree on the vague idea of what consciousness is, much less a strict definition. And I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. One reason for that is the concept that is used, and this is what I'm saying. One reason I believe that this is happening, that they can't define it, is because it is used to mean slightly different things. Many experts do agree, however, that conscious beings, and this is them again, conscious beings are aware of their surroundings. That's their definition of consciousness. So conscious beings are aware of their surroundings. So I asked the question, can it be understood more easily with quantum principles and energy healing practices applied? Here's what I mean by that. If you understood quantum principles and healing practices, which are quantum, whether you know it or not, then you're going to understand consciousness differently. Is it an issue in understanding that the concept of what we're talking about, of consciousness? Is my consciousness a concept about conscious meaning I am awake versus not in a coma, right? So I'm aware of my surroundings on that level. I'm not in a coma, I'm awake. My eyes are open, I'm breathing, I'm going through this existence is programmed, basically, right? It's a level of consciousness. Level is a key to this. It's a level of consciousness. Or are we talking about consciousness meaning not asleep, meaning awake to my potential and possibility, and the quantum principles that apply to me, and the fact that I have internal power because of the electron undulating in and out of time, the time-space fabric, with my attention and participation. That's more than just being not in a coma. That's more than just being aware of your surroundings, yes? When you have that kind of consciousness, now we're talking about levels of consciousness. This is where it gets people get a little bit foggy, because if you don't have the level of consciousness, it may not make sense. Does that make sense? If you're not there yet, you're not there yet. You might be like, oh, like I kind of get it, but I just can't grasp it. That's a level of consciousness, okay? So I'm going to say that one more time. I have internal power because of the electron undulating in and out of the space-time fabric, with the attention of my participation. So I have to put attention on the thing to get it to pop in and out, right? It starts to do its thing. the idea of consciousness maybe is a level, as a leveling factor, right? As levels to it, could be what's befuddling science. Because, why? Because their level of consciousness isn't at a place where they can understand it. So they just don't get it, right? And they're locked in this diagram, they're locked in this paradigm of science. They're trying to figure out how to fit all this in there. But it's stuff that healers and energy people and light workers and however you consider yourself have been playing with and doing all along. And every time you get up another level of consciousness, all of a sudden you're like, aha, there's a little bit more, and you become more awake. Yes? So the reason we don't think we understand consciousness is because some of us are looking at it from a different level than others. And we tend to think we have to listen to the people who have the science backgrounds, the science PhDs, because they have the knowledge, right? They did the schooling, they did the thing. And the truth is, they only did it to a level of consciousness. And if their consciousness remains at that level, they will continue to ask the question that was asked in the original article. And I'll post that article below. You can go check it out. Are we any closer to understanding what consciousness is? They will continue to have to ask that question, especially if they don't up-level their own level of consciousness. Does it make sense? So I'm going to stick this down there so you can go look at it. And actually, and it's in a thing called the Genetic Literacy Project. Cool website. Actually, I had all kinds of cool stuff on there. So I ended up kind of scoping around that for a little while, but go check them out and take a look at that. And then let me know what you think below in a comment, like, share, always subscribe. I greatly appreciate that. And I will be talking to you again soon. I hope this helped.